Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent experiences in business.
Learn what their cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again.
All right. Welcome, Cohesive Leaders. Ben-Jamin and Dr. Troy here. We are joined by Matan Cohen-Citron in Connecticut. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I hope that my presence here will add value for at least one person.
Oh, that'd be great. I'm sure it will.
Well, it's going to be for two because we come as a pair. So at least two people.
Yeah.
And if I enjoyed it half as much as you did, you enjoyed it twice as much as I did. So, we got that going for us.
Yeah.
So
super.
Matan, love to get to know you in a way that is personal. Share with our audience and our listeners something that they would not find if they find you on LinkedIn or if you were submitting your resume. What's something that is an interesting hobby, topic, story, tidbit about you?
I love to explore the world. That's I don't like to take things for granted that I got to go and to play and to explore. I think play is the best way to explore the world, not to get any assumptions, and to bring that into every aspect of my life and to every aspect of other people's life that I get to touch in my day-to-day.
So where are some places you've been?
Places?
Mm-hmm.
Like physical places. I've been Australia, New Zealand, Thailand. I spent 9 months in India, Central America, South America, the Middle East, Europe, and Caribbean.
So that's really great that you've been able to travel those places. What is something that you learned about yourself?
About
having
myself.
Traveled to all those places.
I think that that the self is elusive. Like we're products of our culture, of our environment. So I really started traveling by myself when I was younger, when I was around 21 years old. So the biggest experience is that there are so many different ways to do one thing. And my way is not the best way. It's just one way, and it's very limited because it's based on only my experience.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, I definitely travel is a great way to experience the world, but also it's a great way to get to know more about who you are as a person. So it's really great.
Yeah. And your accent lends itself to say that you've been traveling even to this country. Where's your accent place you?
I was born in Israel.
Okay.
Yeah. And as you said, I think it's true. Like when we grow up and we live in the same environment, people project to us who are you and how you're supposed to behave. And when you travel, especially you travel by yourself, you can be who you are. You can talk to people, you cannot talk to people, you can introduce yourself by your real name or by your fake name, and however you want to present yourself, you can play with that.
So have you what have you experimented with? So you talked about play, which is really great. So have you experimented with and what would that be like if you experimented with being someone different or speaking differently or doing something different? What was that like?
What was that like? It's it makes you realize that people take themselves so seriously and they're really committed to who they are. And if you just by trying to be 2% more funny or 2% more playful or 2% more serious, you really get to experience the world from that perspective. So you realize I did not say do it 10% or 20% or behave like you're a millionaire or anything like that. Just play like that, because everything is basically a construction of our own mind.
Yeah, so I find myself when I travel that I tend to pick up the accent a little bit in my response. My wife is like, "What are you doing?" So if I am in the Asian country, I might somehow start speaking like that. My favorite, of course, is when we go to England, because then I do an English accent. And so my buddy Tim and I, we'll walk through and we'll say, "Oh, look at this over here. I can't believe it's happening." So we have this little conversation, and my wife will look at us and she goes, "What are you guys doing?" We go, "Oh, we're talking in an accent." She said, "No, we're Americans. We have the accent." So that's how that is.
You learn the American accent somewhere, so
Yeah.
we just take it for granted where we come from, and we say, "This is who I am."
There's the line of blending in and making fun of. So we got to figure out where that's at. I actually do that same thing. And a very telling story on myself in college. I said a lot of the accents. And one time my friend introduced me to her boyfriend. And after the first interaction with him, she slapped me. And well, he had a lisp. And I ended up speaking with a lisp during that conversation because of how automatic that was for me to take over an accent. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. And he thought I was making fun of him. So that's something automatic for me. I didn't even try.
Yeah. So I'm not making.
Yeah,
anyway,
I know.
It just a little bit.
I think depends. Every human being has a different degree of how suggestible they are. So it sounds to me that you two are very suggestible. So if somebody throws you something, you just go with it without thinking if it's going to insult a person, it's going to get offended, and this is how we learn. Like some cultures, they eat with their hands. In our culture, we might look at it and say it's not okay, but for some cultures, it's 100% fine.
So now we want to know a little bit more about your identity, not those languages that we pick up or those identities we play. We want to know about you now. So we're going to ask this to you in a couple of ways. We want to know the identity of who you are, which is the characteristics. What is it? What are the words that are used to describe you? Things that maybe your friends or your family say about you, or what people would say when you leave the room. How would they describe you? No roles, just descriptive words of who you are.
All right. So I guess most of the time I'm fun to be around. I'm positive. I care deeply about other people. I love to play around. That's for sure. I don't like to take anything for granted. I love to leave a positive impact, and I really care about the people around me in my life. Like I'm a family person, and I understand that some people are interested to talk about businesses and stuff. However, my and also my business, but my first priority is the well-being of the people around me in my life, and that's my focus.
Nice.
That's awesome. What characteristics or roles that you've had, like getting you to today? What hats have you worn along your journey?
I woke up as a parent, as a dad, and it's something that I did for a long time. I was a stay-at-home dad for a while. I had that gift of 3 years of my life to be with my kids. So I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I run my own 2 businesses, so I have to take care of my clients, to run the business. I'm a friend, I have family, personal relationships. I think a pretty well-diverse, really balanced life. Like I don't get to, I don't spend more than, on average 8 hours a day in my business. So I get to enjoy self-care, to enjoy my kids, to enjoy family.
And I love the process or the placement of how you describe that, because when we often ask that, some folks will say the parents or being a spouse, being a parent is the first thing, but yet when we ask the roles, they share the job first. And so by you saying, going back to your characteristics of saying you care about the ones around you, they became the first ones you talked about in the roles and the hat that you wear. So you're in that response, you're already living out that character trait.
Thank you for pointing it out, because I have this saying, like if you want happy life, your behavior should be aligned with your values.
Yeah, no, really great. Aligning values with what you say. Perfect. Great. All right. So I know you prepped for today. So we're curious now to know what is the uh-oh experience that you're going to share with folks. And again, our listeners are these emerging leaders who are learning from mistakes or mishaps or misunderstandings. And so whatever you have to share, we're going to let that be where the learning exists.
All
So
right.
share with us this personal uh-oh experience that you have.
Yeah. So about 10 years ago, I had a near-death experience that I found myself after that in a state of trauma. Not trauma, as people say, I traumatized because the person spoke not nice to me. Trauma to a point that I wasn't able to really function in the world, to feel safe going to the supermarket, feel safe being by myself, being with my kids. Like the world turned to really not being safe. So that was a huge moment that really got me to to drive into deeper traumas that I had in my life in childhood and after, and really question the way I see the world, to really to develop that vulnerability to go into all of these things that I was trying to avoid before, because we all trying to avoid these things. We have a mind that tries to protect us, and I think that was a huge aha moment, because what I really realized is that, like most people, like most men, I was putting a front, I was putting a persona right there, and I was taking it with me everywhere, and I wasn't able. It's like seeing the world, experiencing the world through a very limited perspective, and facing that allowed me to really to dive to know myself, like what's important for me. Because back then I was focused too much on business, not enough on family. So I think doing personal work was a big aha, and it's still a big aha moment. That I know that people are interested in business, but it's okay that to focus on business and to provide and for ourselves and for our family and to grow. I think business is a great way to self-grow. However, there is the other aspect of who we are, regardless of how much money we're making and what people are thinking about us and all of that stuff, that we just don't live in a society that gives enough attention to that.
What were some of the actions that occurred for you, given, and you don't have to describe the trauma, so we're not necessarily interested in what that is,
Yeah.
but what I'm interested in is what were the outcomes that trauma caused for you?
It's a great question, because I work in that field, and I think you're right on, because it's not about the trauma, what happened, it's what happens to us as a result of that. So for me, my nervous system felt out of alignment. So I had panic attacks 5 days a week. I had a migraine 5 days a week for a very long time. I did not feel safe. I had a very long period that, let's say, if a person that I knew, let's say if I met a person that I knew before, he will come up to me and I'll say, like, you think you know who I am, but I'm not the same person. So it was a big challenge not to, I basically wanted to run for my life.
And then, and I love the fact, and because this is, where some of your work is, and just because I want to help listeners, because how do you process through this without telling everybody the whole story?
Yeah. The story is personal, and I have no problem telling the story. Basically I got a tick on me, and and I collapsed, and I spent whatever few hours thinking that I'm going to die, and then I was in the hospital for a few days. Just the story. It's it doesn't it used to have a meaning for me. Like now it's just something that happened to me. You can see that there isn't any emotional connection to that story. I already processed that story. How do you process it? That's I did through somatic work, through hypnotherapy, through shadow work, through inner child work. I like to see healing as a 4-level thing. There is the the conscious level, there is the unconscious level, there is the emotional level, and there is the somatic level.
Okay, so sometimes though, when you're involved in an activity like this, and you had some apprehensions about going out, some concerns about, maybe your safety, you had that. What was it that woke you up that all of a sudden made you realize you were doing it? Because oftentimes when you go through this, you're not necessarily aware of it. It's just happening. So you might become distant, you might avoid people, you might do whatever, like you change your habit, change your behavior. But what was it that allowed you to go, oh, I'm doing this and I don't want to do that anymore?
It was crazy amount of fear. Like, like I think most people, they live in a very narrow state of fear. And for me, all of a sudden, it was so big. Like, think about, I don't know, grief of somebody that is really close to you. It's like it's all consuming. It wasn't something that I could avoid. All right. There are other behaviors, okay, that we are avoiding on a regular basis. There is a difference between what the behavior and what's the cause of the behavior. The reason that people going and they're still suffering from problems, including myself, is because the cause of the behavior that we think it is and the real cause are two different things.
I want to go back to prior to the situation, the incident. You said that you were more about the business. You were more about the transactions, the money, all those things. Imagine this situation never happened. What do you feel the cost in your life would be had you never had this experience?
Divorce.
What would life be like?
Divorce. Not being able to, to stay in a relationship. Because at that point, my focus wasn't on family. I was having a business, and the business was doing really well, and I worked way too many hours, and when I was at home, I wasn't that present.
So this situation was forced on you. How can you relate this to somebody that sees themselves, or how does one look at themselves and realize they're too focused on business and not relationships? Like, how do you help somebody think through that or get to the point where they need to make a change because the relationships are not a priority to them?
Yeah, I think it's the most important question what you just asked, because we know from behavior that 80% of our behavior is avoiding something, avoiding fear, avoiding punishment, avoiding shame, and 20% of our behavior is moving towards something that we want. Okay, so the signal is over there, is always there. We always get that, from the environment. The real reason, the problem is that we're ignoring it. So the real question here, how we learn to not to deny the signal, how we stay open on that somatic emotional level, because we have the tendency to shut it down, and most people learn to shut it down at a very young age, to shut down the stress signal. And so I think that's the biggest skill, like how we learn how to stay open in this world that, I think we live in such a fast-paced environment right now that it's so, from an evolution perspective, it's so much to deal with anyway. So we're shutting ourselves down. So we're not attending to our priorities. So to answer your question, how do you do it? I think you need to maintain the value work with yourself all the time and check that your behavior on a weekly, monthly base is aligned with the values of who you are. And I like to use the word values, because values is really the DNA of a person. If your value, one of your top values is family, you got to define yourself how it is, and then you got to check that it's in alignment with that. And that's what we call behavior. If you say I'm all for family and you're not spending time with your family, that's a conflict.
So aside from what you might think of for yourself to do, and you said, well, check your value, check on monthly, weekly, monthly, semi-annually, quarterly, whatever. How do you or what recommendation do you have to involve others into that evaluation process?
I think to ask people, to ask for feedback. I think there is so much strength in asking for feedback from, from the family. I think it's the most important thing, from your friends, and at work, from your peers, from your boss, from your suppliers. How am I showing?
And to ask for that feedback, how would you, so if you wanted to invite me to have feedback for you, how would you invite me?
I don't know how to define my relationship with you, but the easiest way for me to do, let's say if you're my supplier, I would just open ChatGPT and say exactly what you asked me for and give me 20 questions to ask, and I will screen it down to 3 to 5 questions, and I will ask you these questions.
Perfect. I love how you integrated technology into that answer. Love that.
Absolutely. I think AI can be so effective in certain things of the processes. It's when it comes to emotion, I don't think that it can do that. I don't think that an AI can do an amazing session with a person because it doesn't understand certain aspects, and there are subtleties to behavior.
Great. So I really like what you have brought to us today. You talked about this, this personal perspective that you have, how it limited your opportunity, how the cost of you not making a change would have gone down a path that would have not produced a favorable result for a relationship, a personal relationship that mattered. You actually were able to do a 180 from actual, complete business to now having a more integrated concept of work and family to do that. And then you've given us some techniques. We would do feedback. And so we would ask that, what other techniques do you think we could employ, or did you employ? Let's do that. What other techniques have you employed besides just asking for feedback?
Techniques to know that we're wrong. That's what you mean? Or that we're
Yes,
on our path?
right, that something has to change, right? What other things did you do besides just asking people for feedback?
I meditate. So I meditate and I do energy practices. So I'm in a constant intimacy with myself.
And in that meditation, say that I missed again. He talked about
Intimacy with himself.
Right. So what exactly does that mean?
I'm aware. I'm aware of what's happening, and my body tells me. I think we all have our inner truth, and that connection with ourselves. So when something is not in alignment with myself, I will know it. My body will tell you I will get sick. My energy will go down.
So the feedback is not only with others, but with self. So you're actually seeking feedback.
You have your body, you have your intuition, where all of that exists. All of that exists in ourselves.
Right. And that sounds
our
really
body is a map to the world,
I know, and it sounds really natural when you say it, but I don't know how natural it might be for others.
Well, yeah, many people just go.
Yeah.
And they crash and they don't see the signs, or they just see them as the results of, okay, yeah, of course I did that, but they don't see them as opportunities to make corrections prior to getting to a certain spot.
Yeah. I'm a big believer, because I work as a hypnotist and I work as a coach, and from listening to what you guys are doing, it's all about developing skills. Life is about developing skills. Any mishap that happens in the business, every failure that happens in the business or in real life, we're able to examine it. And I think in many situations, it's super helpful to use another person, because it's not just another set of eyes and ears. It's another nervous system that stays regulated when we're talking about our problems. Okay? That help us to see that there is misalignment. I use somebody when I have something that I misaligned. If I have something that is an ancient wound or something, I will use help. I think it's very important to use help and to use it to really think about the environment, because I think the environment that, let's say, people who live in a state of burnout, this is what they know. They know go, 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 go. To sit and to meditate, it might be way too much for them to slow themselves down. Maybe they need to go for half an hour walk without their phones and just listening to the birds and connecting with nature. So it's a process of how we're developing skills. Like I've been practicing yoga, qigong, meditation for 25 years. So I'm a little bit better than myself if I wouldn't have done that. So it's very personal. It's not about I'm better meditator than you guys. It's about how I improve myself on a daily basis.
And so
in order to do that, we need to have practices.
And I have to ask, are you familiar with laughing yoga?
Yes.
Okay. Do you practice laughing yoga?
No.
No? Well,
No,
Ben and I
love the concept. I don't practice laughing yoga, but it's basically practicing, exercising our emotions, that I think that it's fantastic.
Well, Ben and I created a little a variation of that. We call it laughing therapy. And we have a little 1-minute exercise that we go through to demonstrate laughing therapy. And if anybody's interested in that, you'll just have to get in contact with us and we'll share what that 1-minute exercise is. But it's very similar to what you're speaking about. It's the importance of the mindset and how your mind gets reset when it needs to. And to be aware. I think the things that you talked about demonstrate that you have a really high level of emotional intelligence, because you're able to self-aware of where you are. You have self-awareness, and then you have self-regulation, or the self-correction that you can put in place to do that. And it also expands on a social basis. So you have the opportunity of interacting with other people and having a social awareness and then a social regulation as well. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's a way for our listeners to get a hold of you?
Get a hold of me. So I have a website, Matan's Movement, MATANS movement.com. Same thing on Instagram, Matan's.movement. If they want, they will find.
So it's
Google my name.
MATAN movement.com.
There's an S, Matan's Movement.
Oh,
right?
is it with an S?
With an S.
With an S.
Just Google Matan Cohen-Citron and they will find me, and it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Keep it simple. All right. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. But and I know that you prepped a whole bunch for being on our session today, because you're a very thoughtful individual. What question did you think Ben and I would ask that we didn't?
Maybe about how your audience can use their mind, their unconscious mind, probably, to because that's really what I help people with, like how the audience can use their unconscious mind in order to improve their life.
So I would love to learn how the audience can use their unconscious mind to improve.
Okay. I think the first thing is to develop a relationship with the unconscious mind, because our unconscious mind is here all the time. People have that misperception that they need to close their eyes or to go into a deep trance state, or to do drugs, or to do whatever to go into that state that to affect their unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind is present all the time and is here to serve us. So, and I think it's begging for us that instead of being busy in the conscious mind, like judging ourselves, fixing ourselves, to understand that our behavior is not conscious, is unconscious. And as I said that, I'm sure that 99% of people have that picture of the iceberg, and to have that image. And I think that in certain situations, it's really beneficial to use a practitioner. like if it's something that you tried for a while. If it's changing other behaviors, it's instead of thinking, oh, I want, how do I want to behave, to think what belief I have to have inside that will cause the behavior that I want to have. So if, for example, a person who hears that wants to be a better parent, what belief you're going to have about relationship with your spouse, about parenting, about the world, about your role? What belief do you want to have about family that is going to make you behave in a way that you want and in a way that is going to serve you? So to reverse it.
Yes. So I really, what you just talked about is very similar to, some of the concepts that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regarding that whole process.
From a corporate standpoint of coaching to behaviors,
Yeah.
core values, and then
core
behaviors.
values.
So,
yeah, because we established core values is the basis for your behavior. So you begin with a value system that happens. And if we were to talk about it academically, it would be, it's an attribution theory or an implication theory that says we come in contact with activities, we stamp a value on those through our life period. And eventually, when enough of those experiences happen or that value gets weighted, then we can identify it and we actually say, oh, this is a value that I have. And then what are the beliefs around that attitude, around that core value? And then we look at attitudes. What are the cultural similarities and differences that may happen, or the ways that you may approach it, approach that value in ways that do not cover belief or the description. And all three of those manifest themselves into behaviors. So It really, thank you so much for that little masterclass and helping us, reinforce that point. We always like for people to know that we just didn't make this up one day sitting on a couch going like, yeah, this would be great to say, that there is a lot of grounded truth in what we're doing and getting it validated. Yeah, and getting it validated from someone like with you, with your education and your background, is very rewarding and refreshing. So thank you so much for that. And thanks for being a part of our show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Me too.
So we're going to close out our session today, like we close out all of our Cohesion Culture programs, with this simple mantra. You don't have to know everything.
Just need to be teachable.